They say that knowledge is not about what you know, but about what you can do with what you know. So I'm gonna explain a book that's one of my favorite here. It's called Outwitting the Devil. Welcome to today's YouTube video. We're gonna explain and talk about Outwitting the Devil, a book written by Napoleon Hill. Now, this book is just fascinating. It was written more than 100 years ago by Napoleon Hill, and it was never published when it was written because his wife told him that he should never publish it because it was very embarrassing for her family and his family, and if people would read the things that he was talking and explaining about humanity and how people work, they would be very embarrassed and dishonored. So the book was never published and was hidden. And once he died, Napoleon, the book was found and it was published a few years ago. So the book is brand new, but it was written 100 years ago. And it's very fascinating that everything that he says in the book still applies 100% to today's world. So we have evolved, if you can say it that way, 100 years, and we're still in the same position as when he saw us. We are still animals or humans that does not understand their behavior and does not know how to improve the quality of their lives. And let's get started with the key points about the books. Napoleon says that a person is the sum of his whole habits, and we are creatures of habit, and that's totally right. There are new books written about habits, as you can know, Atomic Habits and the Power of Habit, and there are many new books, and he said this 100 years ago. And yes, we are creatures of habits, and we are, the sum of habits. We have positive and negative habits. If you know about the laws of Hermes, there's the law of polarity that says that there's an equal pole or an equal force to everything. What do I mean by this? You cannot have black without having white. You cannot have darkness without having the sun. So everything needs the exact same opposite force, right? Napoleon says that a person who has an determined or an X level of success must have endured or lived the same amount of failure in the past. You cannot have the good without the bad. Okay, it comes as a package. Now, he also said that you should not see failure as failure or as the negative pole, but as an opportunity to grow. So if you are standing at one side of the pole here, in the failure side, you have two choices: either make it bigger and stay there, or go to the other side. And if you go to the other side, you will have the same or more success than the amount of failure that you are living right now. Another thing that he says, and a lot of people talk about it, is that children learn through imitation. So when a child is young, he observes and copies his environment. And that's how they create or they adapt and design their character based on what the environment is doing, saying, and acting. Okay, so it's very crucial and very important that when a children is from 0 to 7 years old, you are so careful with what he sees, with what you teach him and what he imitates, because his character, his forever character, will be determined by the action that he's imitating before he's 7 years old. There's a saying that he says, this is one of my favorite all-time quotes. He says, "The person who is not master of himself can never be a master of others." If you want to put it in another way, you can say that most people are blind leading the blind. What do I mean by this? An unhealthy person teaching someone how to be healthy, or a poor-minded entrepreneur leading his employees on how to be successful. corrupted politician trying to lead and trying to evolve, change corruption. So most people are incongruent and lead or teach his subjects, the opposite of what they do. A true leader embraces failure, overcomes failure, and evolves as a person. And once he is in a celebrity position or in a position of of higher knowledge and higher expertise, then he can lead people and he can be master of people. Otherwise, he's just a blind person who eventually will crash, leading other blind people. 90% of humans have a grasshopper mind. What does this mean? Do you know the grasshopper, the animal? He jumps from one thing to the other. He's never still. He's never in one particular place. So a person with a grasshopper mind means that he's not okay with his reality, and he's just starting one thing and he's jumping onto the next one, but he's not finishing anything. He doesn't have the education or the habit of finishing what he started. This is the reason why people never succeed in life, because they are not capable of finishing the tasks that they are starting out. They say they are going to lose weight and they only last 1 week, and then they jump to another thing. They are going to stop smoking and they only do it for one time, and then they jump onto the next distractor or shiny object. So we have positive and negative desires, and a strong desire comes into the form of a thought. It can be positive or it can be negative. So we are all based on desires. If you really desire something, you start to think about it, and after you think about it, your brain makes it a reality. So first you think something, then you say something about it, you speak about it, and then it becomes a reality. Now, what's the hint here? Be careful with what your desires are, and be careful with the way you think. Your thoughts control you. You are a creature of thought. Okay, so first you think something and then it becomes. So if something in your life right now is not the best way or is not the ideal way, if you wish to change something right now, then you need to change first your thought, and you need to change first your desires. If you want to change yourself, or if you want someone to change, the best thing you can do is to change their environment. People cannot change where they are right now because the environment pushes them to do something, either good or bad. What happens here? There's a study about when soldiers were sent to the Vietnam War, soldiers became addicted to opium, the drug. Why? Because it was everywhere, because the Vietnamese environment smoked opium. So 60% of soldiers became addicted. It was a very big problem for the government, and the government was worried that when the war ended, he would bring home many addicted soldiers, and they would start to corrupt the environment, and then they would have a society full of drugs. It would be very expensive, dangerous, and very hard to eradicate. And people were going clean to the war, but as soon as they came there, the environment changed them. Now, something very funny happened. When the war ended and people came back home, they were still addicted, but they were coming back to a different environment in which the opium was not easy to find. Not everyone used those kind of drugs. Society did not see them as something good or nice to do. And most people, like 60 or 80% of addicted soldiers, stopped smoking, stopped doing drugs. Why? Because they came back to an environment in which it was not allowed. It was not a good thing. So what's the thing here? People change addictions or habits based on its environment. Another example, we have a lot of Latinos and Mexican people, me myself included, who immigrated from one country to the other. In Mexico or in Latin America, you are allowed, or society is more tolerable with alcohol, with breaking the rules, with not driving carefully, speeding up, driving while you drink. All of those things are okay in the country. People party all the time, people are more flexible. And as soon as people step into the US land, they change who they are like this. They follow rules, they stop drinking, they never drive while they drink, they never rush into the red light. They change their behaviors. Why? Because they need to adapt to a new environment. So if you want to change the environment of your team, of your employees, of your family, of your kids, analyze how are they behaving, how's their environment, how's their school, how are their friends, how are the other employees, and change the environment first, and you will automatically change the person. Now the book says many more things that you should read about it, underline it, reread it, and analyze the human behavior. But what we can conclude here is that 100 years have gone by and we are still the same creatures, creatures of habits, creatures of thought, creatures who are not used to fail. The education system is wrong, and we haven't seen the reality or the way humans should behave. So I truly recommend you to read this book. It's one of the books that you should have at home. And thank you for watching this video. If you want to watch more personal growth videos, personal development, if you want to continue investing on yourself, we have a few resources in the description section of this video. Thank you for watching, and I see you in the next one.